with her wind-ravaged shorelines, heather-laden mountains. She brims with generations of knowledge of how to turn a simple grain into liquid gold. This is the Inner Hebrides. This is Islay. Oh, for f***'s sake. Cut. Reset. Hello and welcome back to another whiskey review with me, the Whiskey Novice. It's good to have you back. It's good to be here as always. And we're starting a new series, one which I have taken to calling a baker's dozen. Why do I call it a baker's dozen? Well, I was originally going to call it 12 by 12 because I was going to be 12 episodes looking at 12-year-olds, Scottish single malts. But as I've mentioned before, I like to balance my episodes out so as they go from the start of a month to the end of a month if I can. And when I looked at the timings of it, this would have left me a week short. So there's going to be 13 episodes looking at 12-year-old Scotch single malts. So a baker's dozen. Why not? What are we looking at first? Well, we're going to Islay. And it's great to be back with some peated whiskey. It's a while from I've reviewed any peated whiskey. This is going to be episode number 1, review number 41. And we're looking at Caol Ila from Islay. Caol Ila is there on the northeast coast of Caol Ila, northeast, just down from Dunahavn a bit, on the strait between Islay and Jura, which is where it's that strait that it gets its name from, I think. Caol Ila owned by Diageo, and this is one of their classic malts series. What else? It's the largest producer on Islay, believe it or not, in terms of quantity, because remember, they're using a lot of their, well, they're not necessarily using it, but their whiskey goes into blends, an awful lot of blends, in particular Johnnie Walker. So Johnnie Walker, such a big producer, and this is going into some of their blends. So Caol Ila, big producer for that purpose, but they do make their own, they do put out their own single malt. This one in particular matured for 12 years in ex-bourbon hogsheads. What do I think of it? Well, let's see. It is chill filtered. There is colour added, although I sort of asked the question, I have to ask the question, if that's the colour it is naturally, or if that's the colour, with colour added, it couldn't have been much lighter than that naturally. Why add colour? The other thing is, I mean, you've put it in a bottle which is coloured. It's not a clear bottle. Nobody can see the colour of it in the bottle anyway. So, to me, I would just have banged it out in its natural colour. But I ain't Diageo. Bottle of 43%. The first thing I get on the nose is very strong mint. There's peat. Of course there's peat. We'll get to the peat. But I actually get a strong mint off it, and wintergreen. Very fresh mint. Peppermint, not spearmint. Yes, you get to the peat. The peat is there. Of course the peat is there. But in terms of Islay, we all know about Islay peated whiskey. This, I would consider a gentle peat. It's heavy enough. If you're not a peat fan, this is going to be enough to put you off. But if you are a peat fan, there's enough to keep you in, if that makes sense. Bubblegum. I'm getting a sweet bubblegum note, but it's not. I mean, it's held in by the mint and the peat. It's a subtle thing. And then a meatier note. If you imagine a good ham boiling away there, that's the sort of thing. It's a sweet meat, very sweet meat. But there's also a brininess There's seaweed in there. There is a slight detergent note. Slight, it's hard to explain, but it's there. But not complaining. Very, very beautiful nose, very delicate peat, sweet, as I said, meaty, minty, lots of things going on. Onto the palate. Now that peat becomes thinned smoke. It is smoke. When we talk about peat, obviously we're talking about the peat smoke. And the smoke is there in the palate then. Slightly bittersweet delivery. More seaweed. Lemon, it is fresh. It has an oily mouthfeel. And when I was doing my research in this, that oily mouthfeel makes it good for blending, apparently. This is something that lends itself then to blending. If you want something peat for a blend, a good oily thing then tends, I think, to stick well. So that palate is sweet. It's yet again meaty. There's a fruitiness, but it's a candied fruit, I find. Finish. A medium to long in length. Yeah. The smoke does linger, and it gets peppery, clingy. It gets slightly clingy, slightly dry, but not off-putting once again. Really is a good dram. This in the UK you'll pay £30 to £40 for in the UK. For that money, pucker. It is pucker. It's one of my favourite Islay whiskies in that it's slightly gentle. I'm not going to add water to it. I added water in when I was doing my tasting notes. And what did it do? Well, it started to bring out a slightly rubbery note for me. There was a little more smoke. It actually coated even more. It became slightly more oily. But the finish got sort of hot, I thought, and it just hung around a while. So I'm not going to add water. I think I preferred it without it. I'm going to compare it though. What I wish to compare it with was this. This is the Lefroy quarter cask. I wish to compare it with the 10-year-old, the Lefroy 10-year-old. I'm not going to pretend for 1 second that these whiskies are even close to each other, but more along the lines of, here's a whiskey. If you haven't tried this, if you can't get the same access to this, you may have better access to Lefroy. Certainly the 10-year-old. Now, I'm not going to review this here, the quarter cask, but if I was to put it into layman's terms, shall we say, the difference between this and the 10-year-old, this isn't a million miles away from the 10-year-old. It's just more concentrated. You're looking at smaller cask maturation, probably quite a bit younger than the 10-year-old, but it is more concentrated. But I just wanted to pick another Islay to compare it with that you might have access to. Okay, I could have thrown in the Ardbeg 10 there, I could have thrown in the Lagavulin, but from memory, this is getting closer to a lighter, sweeter peat than the Ardbeg or the Lagavulin. And as I said, this is a lighter peat. This is a sweeter whiskey. As I said, now remember, these aren't the same whiskey by any means, but just to give you something to compare by. So the Caol Ila, round, soft peat, sweet, cooking, ham. That's the sort of thing you're looking at. The Laphroaig, this hasn't been in the glass long enough, so I should have had this poured, but a lighter, sweeter peat nearly again. Smokier. The Laphroaig is smokier, more like a bonfire. This is like cooking meat. If this is a bonfire, this is actually barbecuing something. Actually, barbecue was something in there that I missed out, I think. This is starting to open up now. I'm starting to get the peat, I'm starting to get the smoke, I'm starting to get the sweetness. But no, barbecue, bonfire. That's where I would say is the difference in there. Both good whiskies. So I'm not going to review this here, but yes, that's what I would suggest. The Laphroaig's like a smoky fire. This is a barbecue, and a very, very nice barbecue it is. Yeah, I can't really say enough about the Caol Ila 12-year-old. It is a good, worthwhile whiskey to buy. A friend of mine in the community, when asked the question recently, a good whiskey to buy under £50 sterling, and this was the one that, straight out the bag, this was the one they shot for, and this was coming from somebody who knows what they're talking about. So highly recommended. Caol Ila 12-year-old. There you go. That's the first part of this series completed. I will be back next time with something slightly different, but still 12-year-old Scottish single malt. Until then, thank you for joining me. Thank you to my patrons once again for the support. If you would like to join and become a patron, I will leave a link in the description below. Until the next time, stay safe, look after each other. Here's to your good health. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.